It's exactly 8 after the hour 6, about to go 9 on the Mighty Metro FM. Welcome to it. Thank you for choosing us. Thank you for joining us. It's a Thursday. You know, on a Thursday, we tell stories. That's what we do here. We tell stories, man. And, it's such a nice race, a relay between us and the touchdown, because they lace it up for us, don't they? They play that old school music, that throwback music that sets Thursdays back, because we call it Throwback Thursday here on the Mighty Metro Sports that Amplified with Andile. I am Andile Ngube. As you know, I've been gone 10 days, yeah? Came back yesterday to Côte d'Ivoire. And in my time away, I was in the hottest city I've ever been in. The hottest place I have ever been in. But it's not the heat as much as it is the humidity that gets you, right? Which means in the hotel, everywhere you are, ushaye aircon, boy. The whole day, the whole night, no mulele. Otherwise, and I think it's affected me somewhat. You can hear the voice. I think I'm coming down with a little bit of the flu from, the temperature change. But hey, we'll soldier on. The weekend is around the corner. Enough time to rest and be back. I just couldn't take another day off from you. I really couldn't. Listen, yesterday we had a conversation with the lawyer for Sundowns. And I said to him, but why? I don't like the words you guys use at Swallows. You guys saying the players, Andile Jali, can beg for his job. The word beg, if they want their jobs back, they can beg for their job. And he said, "Hi, Andile, that's not the wording and the things." I said, yes, that's what you guys said. You said they must beg. And I don't like that phrasing, that players must, almost grovel. They must beg for their jobs back. And he said, no, that's not the language we use. And I said, okay, my archive is deep. I've got a man by the name of Thabo Nkwala. Thabo Nkwala is the tech imaging of this show. He said, Andile, leave it to me.
Sports Night Amplified with Andile on Metro FM.
Lawyer for Moroka Swallows Football Club, Leruma Tobejana, joins me now on the line. I just want to know if that language is Leruma's language, or is this the language within the hierarchy at Moroka Swallows Football Club? If the players want, they can come and beg for their job back.
No. Let me repeat what I said. I said immediately after the dismissal, players came back to apologize. I never said they came back to beg. That's what I said.
Knowing Thabo Nkwala, who is the genius behind the sound of the show, listen tomorrow. I think he's going to put your voice saying beg, and then he's going to put a song and then put this part tomorrow.
Well, it's entirely up to the players to go back and beg for their jobs back, and it's entirely up to the club to recruit from the same place.
The players can come and beg for their job back.
No. I can tell you now, that's not Swallow's intention.
6 to 7 p.m.
Checker 6060 is delivering 4 weeks of extra big deals. Ice cream cravings with extra savings. Let's go 6060. Ready-made meals will bring the deals. Let's go 6060. Send them flowers, no waiting hours. Let's go 6060. Dinner date in, drop us your pin. Let's go 6060. Don't miss the hottest weekly deals in our savings extravaganza. Let's go 6060.
Live life to the fullest on Afternoon Express, Tuesdays at 6 p.m. on S3. Join me, Palisa Tembe, and Zoraida Jardine as we engage on topics of health, wellness, and a better lifestyle. With practical advice, insightful conversations, and culinary inspiration. Make every moment a step towards a healthier, happier you. Repeat Sunday mornings at 8:30, only on S3.
Burnley FC will play their hearts out to ensure that Arsenal walks away empty-handed from Turf Moor.
Fofana with the equaliser. What a run from Wilson Odegaard.
Meanwhile, the Gunners of London have big plans to occupy the top spot.
Oh, it's in! And that seals it for Arsenal. They lead 3-1 and it's Trossard's goal.
This is the Premier League.
Burnley FC battles it out with Arsenal FC on Saturday, 17 February at 4 p.m. Live on S3, also available on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com.
Hashtag We Love It Here.
Brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Hashtag Throwback Thursday on Sports Night Amplified with Andile on Metro FM. Powered by SABC Sport.
It's 13 after the hour 6 on the Mighty Metro FM. Thank you so much for choosing us, and welcome to Sports Night Amplified with Andile. I am Andile Ngube. And today I want to I want to go back because it's a story that I'd heard of. It's a story that I knew of, right? Xolisani Nomeva, who's a boxer. A couple of years ago in 2015, I was part of the people. I think I was at 2000. I was at Radio 2000 at the time. And I helped promote this competition that was going to be so big. The winner was going to win R1 million. And last night, I was with the boxer who won it all. Won R1 million in the competition. R1 million. This was in 2015, Xolisani Nomeva. And he said to me, Andile, I've gone everywhere, I've done everything. Only you and the show can save me now. But what happened? Why are we here? Why are we speaking about a date of R1 million? And hey, I don't know, maybe, you've done well in life and congratulations and I'm happy for you. But for most of us, R1 million is a life-changing amount of money. That's an amount of money that if it is indebted to you, if it is owed for you, you don't say, okay, no, it's fine. Mina mangankolota maybe boma 80 rand ayekela. But anything above that, siyalo. I imagine $1 million. And it's not $1 million that's been gifted to you. Awukwatelanga million yamaloto. Even that though, it's yours. You paid for it. You bought the ticket. Not ukuthi ngikupromise ngizokunika just nje ngangakunika. No. You got into the ring. You fought. You hurt. You were beaten. You felt pain. For R1 million. And 9 years later, you've never seen a single cent of it. Let me break down the story with Bongani Makasela. Bongani Makasela, of course, is one of our favorites when it comes to scribes that write the game, a boxing writer, somebody who's been doing it longer than I've known about boxing. Bongani, thank you so much for joining us. It's always a pleasure to have you.
Good evening, Andy. Good evening to your listeners, and thanks for having us, man.
Listen, Bongani, this is a story that I've seen, that I've known of for so long. 9 years later, what happened in 2015?
Well, Andy, Dixie Mula came up with a brilliant idea. It's more like a development kind of, program, which was aimed at taking South African boxing to greater heights. The beginning was lovely. We were all behind him.
Dixie Mula, the former SABC presenter, boxing commentator, Dixie Mula.
Quite correct.
Okay, yes.
Yes, he came up with the idea called Premier Boxing League. Boxers were going to eliminate themselves or one another up until the finals, and the winner walking away with $1 million.
abakhona uBrabox Mr. Makasela ukuxelela istory njengokuba silapha kuMenhloko yabo and injalo iPPL it was a very great innovative that changed a lot of boxers lives and myself, but yangahabi ngohlobo they sinuyenza ngayo. So njengoba kuphela since 20 so it was a South African event tournament. I was fighting against all the boxers that are being chosen across South Africa. So we were fighting for points. It was a league. And we were winning points, more points by making knockouts, knocking people out. So I managed to do even the mental.
I'm going to put you back to Timmy because that line is not the best, and I need it to be very clear. I want to hear you. You said you wanted your story told, and I want it told. At the moment, that line is not doing us great. You did give us another number to call on. He would have come to the studio, of course, but unfortunately, after having invited him to Sport at 10 last night, he flew back to the Eastern Cape this morning to Unomeva. But if you're just joining us, it's a story of a young man who sees a dream opportunity to some fortune while showing off his talent. He's a great boxer. I mean, he's got many belts that's at his house. He was saying to me yesterday, Andile, no, was he 9, 10, just different belts that he's won that are sitting there. And he finds this opportunity. The Boxing Premier League starts and he's entered into this, goes all the way and wins it. And as promised, the big prize money for this. And that was the lure for many of the young boxers that took part. I mean, we're speaking about 9 years later, so the man he is now is different to who he was then. R1 million was at stake. That's what they were all fighting for. Let's see if we have Unomeva back. Dongin. And Funu, just to tell me the story once again about, you know, your emotional attachment to this competition, because you could see it was a great competition, but also it was this big amount of money that was being paid, something unheard of. Who are you at the time? What is your financial situation?
My financial situation going to PPL, obviously, and I was already a state champion, but because boxing, but I was still so joining PPL with price and 1 million, it was going to change my life, obviously. That's why I'm gonna give it my all. That gym as hard as I can, and I fought as hard as I could, and I win. Thinking that I'm going to be a better person as soon as the PPL player, my life is going to change.
What is your plan? What is your plan with that money?
If I can tell you my plan, I already had a foundation in Guinea because we were getting 60,000 for a fight.
Per fight, yeah.
Yeah, per fight, and waiting for 1 million. So my cousin brother, the one that took me to boxing, was also part of the PPL. So as I saw our point, Nambonba, I was winning. That's good, body. Tata 60,000 the last one after the winning final. Tata 60,000 Tengelizia, yakho siphuma apha kosi siphunzana emikhukhwini. Sithenge indlu 3 rooms apha elokishini. Mina ngathatha 1 million ndizithenge indlu.
So the last 60,000, because upataliwe for the fights that you were doing before, right?
For the fight that
so you took that last 60,000 and you gave it to your brother, and you said, "Here, because mnandine million ezayo."
Sibanisa nale yakho sithenge indlu. Ube nendlu yakho so that xa sifuna ku-PPL at least kungafani nakuqala. Nyani usayithenga wayithenga indlu yakhe ngala mali. nandabe sengiqalile i-foundation ekhaya ndithi ngizawenzela umamela ekhaya khule hlala ezilayini zami apho ndiyakhona khule hlala endlini by 8 ku-2 room so xa sifika ekhaya ndilala next door ekwi-family yabo so my plan was to change that thing because xa sesingamadoda sikwazi hlala nabantu abangomama ngaphakathi. My plan was always to change the situation yasekhaya. So after the 1 million ithenjisiwe was like uyaqala ubombami buyatshintsha sakwazi ulungisa ekhaya ngakwazi uzenzela nami ezinto. So ndayilinda ndenze i-foundation ndilindile kanjalo ayafika ndade ndafikela kwisigqoko soba mandiyeke nale boxing yabo because bese ndiyincamile yabo
because inhliziyo yakho yophuke ngaloo ndlela uba le boxing ayinanyani. There's no truth in boxing.
Ndandiyithanda i-boxing before but uthando lwami le-boxing from there azange liphinde lifane yebo. So ininzi into eyenzekayo ngala PBL ebomini bami eyenzekayo yachinja ubomi bami indlela nje efanana.
Mamela ke Nomeva, because it's been 9 years. Into endifuna uyazi mina is what are they saying to you every day? Because I can imagine uyafona uyabuza uDick sekuyena wayengumphathi. Xa uthetha naye umbuzo ba hey imali yami kanti. What are they saying to you? For 9 years. Bathini for 9 years?
Njengoba betshilo uBrabongs bethe kwathuleka for ixesha elininzi and futhi ke namagqwetha wami benawo ngalo xesha akho communication akho nix andazi nix babayenzayo. And then uPradix ngumuntu apha that is not denying but he owes me 1 million but uyatsho uba izinto zihamba ngendlela befuna zihambe ngayo okanye kwacwangciseke ngayo and he's going to make sure uzayibhatala imali but uba nini asiyazi.
Has he paid you anything at all?
No.
Not a single cent?
Not a single cent.
For 9 years, he's saying, don't worry, it's coming. For 9 years.
Yes.
And our phone, he still answers the phone and says, it's coming.
Esikunzima andikwazi buze yabo awukwazi you sometimes ufikelela kwithuba loba uyike nombuzo umuntu uba uzayinika nini masinalike imali encinci le yabuba lo utheben owa maybe 500 or 1000 yabo le inkulu kakhulu bese koyike mna
oyike ngemali yakho
bra.
What did this do? Because I know ba ungumuntu onomntana, I can hear her in the background. Ngubani igama lakhe?
Afeziwe, my last one is Afeziwe.
Oh no, Afeziwe, you've got a wife. What does something like this do to your family?
I always look at them and be like, I wish one day I can get my money so our family can be in a better situation than it is. And looking at my wife working hard, because we were supposed to be halfway the road to Eastern Cape now, but because she had to go to work, we had to wait for her to come back. It's only now that we are driving to Eastern Cape. So those are situations that I'm thinking, if I had the million, if the information maybe is long better from what it is now. Yeah. So it's cool every time ngithethwa ngayo iyangikhubekisa because into engiqondayo ba anawo amandla anikwazi uzenzela nto andiyazi uba ndingathini andiyazi bangancedwa ngubani yabo. So I look at abantu abaninzi sometimes ndithi there are people enandibathembile ndithi bazakwazi undikhawulezela bandincede bazakwazi undivela but yeah.
Listen, we had tried to get a hold of Dixie before, but since Teta Ngogu, he's been told that his name has been mentioned on the show and he wants to come on. So I'm going to put Dixie Ngula in and we're going to have that conversation with him. But let's take a quick break first. Don't go anywhere.
Submissions for this year's Metro FM Music Awards are now open. And the winner is... To enter, simply log on to www.metrofmmusicawards.co.za. Make some beautiful noise! For inquiries, email info@metrofm.co.za. Yeah! Metro FM.
So if you don't know, you better ask somebody. It's bigger, it's better. The Metro FM Awards are back.
It's where you want to be. Sports Night Amplified with Andile on Metro FM.
Julius Malema speaking on Danny Jordan. Whilst Danny Jordan is there, he practically looked at him in his face and said this.
The fact that Danny must go still remains. He needs to go. But for now, we want to concentrate on celebrating Bafana Bafana and not spoil the whole celebration with politics of football. Our being here, our listening to Danny here, it doesn't make him a good leader.
Yo, he didn't mince his words with it. He really didn't. Malati here. It means here. Like we're here now, Ngumunyela. We're here together, listening to you, basically.
6 to 7 p.m. Hashtag Throwback Thursday on Sports Night Amplified with Andile on Metro FM. Powered by SABC Sport.
Can't wait to hear from you on 086-000-2160. WhatsApp on 060-552-7303. If you do, give us a call at 50. We'll be taking your calls on WhatsApp. So it's the Mighty Metro FM. This is Sports That Amplified with Andile. We're speaking, of course, to boxer Uglosani Nomeva and Ongeni, as well as we do have Dixie Ngula on the line. Dixie, thank you so much for joining us. I thought we weren't going to have you, but I'm glad you came on.
Yeah, Andile, why did you think you're not going to have me?
Well, I mean, you're not easy to track down, but I'm glad you came on nonetheless. I appreciate you having come on.
Okay, so I think let's clear a few things, because this narrative that I cannot be gotten hold of is not correct. I have to be very clear about that. Your producer spoke to me 5 minutes ago for the first time ever, okay? And I heard from a friend and colleague that I'm being discussed on radio. Can I go and listen? Right? I don't run away from anyone. Have not run away from anyone. Nomeva and I talk all of the time. We have a meeting even this coming Monday that's set up. So I think I should just clear that very clearly.
No, very clear. I think the notion was,
and so the point then is that you, in the planning of your show, you would have known that on this day at this time you are discussing this subject. It's central to it.
Let me correct you, Dixie, but I don't want to labor on this because it's not the part of the discussion. But it's a conversation that came up last night when I did meet Unomeva, and we had conversations, and I'd remembered him from the PBL, and I'd asked him, hey, how did that thing end up? So it was something that came up last night. He was traveling, so when he said to me he would be able to talk, but also just check your messages. I'm pretty sure that you will see that we're there. But nonetheless, let's put that aside. Let's put that aside and focus. Let's focus on the matter at hand here. It's 9 years since the PBL. It's 9 years since what was a great tournament, a great resurrection of the sport of boxing that you were the brainchild of. Came about, and we saw the historic winner, which was Unomeva. What's since happened since then? I mean, I remember the big check of 1 million. I don't remember the small check. Talk to us about how it is that we are here where we are.
Okay, you're gonna have to pardon me, Andile, because as I mentioned, I'm in transit, and now. Let's get back to the matter you're raising. The PBL was. I designed it, and when I designed it, I knew that at the time there was no boxing activity taking place in the country, right? And so there were certain innovations that needed to come in, one on the sporting side, and secondly on the commercialization side. And first thing to do when the sport has had a blackout was to ensure that we had funding support, number one. Secondly, we can have a broadcast partner. And all of those things were arranged. Once we got a commitment from the Eastern Cape, because once I designed the idea, I went to the Eastern Cape. and pitched it there at the Department of Economic Development at the time, right? And commitments were made for 30 million rand to be the sponsor of the project. And the 30 million rand would come through the agency of the department, which was the gambling board in the Eastern Cape, right? So the facts are as simple as this, that out of that commitment, we got 4.5 million rand out of 10 million, out of the first tranche of 10 million. We got 0 out of 10 million out of, we got 0 out of the second 10 million. And the third 10 million, we got 2.8 million rand. In total, that's about 7.3 million. So our problem with the project, I hear the noises about there were issues about promoters not liking the project, etc., etc. I think that's professional jealousy that happens in any industry. But had the commitments from the government of the Eastern Cape been met, we would have proceeded with that project into season 2 and beyond, right? So the 1 million rand prize money was promised, not paid. It's not paid, okay? And it's not paid because once we realized that even the first tranche is not coming through in the way that this funding should have come through, we started scrambling around for cash, speaking to other departments that supported us, your Department of Sport in the Eastern Cape, but I'm paying out of my own pocket, own resources to roll out that project, okay? The project bankrupted me. I want to say it in exactly those words. The project bankrupted me, okay? Now, towards the end, we had meetings with the original funding partner to say, listen, obviously the funding that was expected hasn't come through, right? We need it. We need it because we owe suppliers. We need to do the finale. And you would realize that the PBL had been designed as a TV show to, TV runs like clockwork. And unfortunately, with the funding not coming through, we knew leading into the final that there would be some shortfalls, okay? At a point, we knew that the commitment made is going to be an issue, and we discussed these issues with all concerned.
Okay. I hear you, and I think I'm comfortable to say you've laid your side of the story comfortably, but I just want to ask you a couple of questions then, Texie. Those weren't your only sponsors, of course. You were making money from the TV side as well, et cetera, et cetera. So that 7 million that came from the department instead of the 30 that they'd offered was not the only source of income for this competition, correct?
Yeah, so that's why I was baffled as to why I wasn't called to be, so that these things can be put in perspective.
You are here, so I just want to know, was that the only money that you were expecting? Was the 30 million the only?
Andile, there was no TV money, okay? So let me give you a bit of background. Before pitching this project, I went to ETV in Hyde Park, and I said to ETV, can I do a project on the basis of advertiser funded? That's an AFP. We were confident in our business planning that we can pay for production, pay for eventing, pay for the advertiser funding part of it, which is airtime. Therefore, in spite of there being what was then called blackout on television for boxing, we forced our way into TV via advertiser-funded approach. So there's no money.
And I'm not rushing you when I take you here. I just want to know, was because there are time constraints, of course. So the money coming from the department was the only money you were getting?
It was the only money that we got. Once we got that commitment that there is money coming from the department, we were comfortable that that's enough budget to launch the project and proceed.
And I'm pretty sure that it was a contract.
And the other partners, by the way, because I mean, people are saying they were sponsors. I need to mention the other partners that were on board were sponsors in kind, a partner
and resources. I see what you mean. Yes,
yeah,
there weren't people giving money.
Yeah, security in the Eastern Cape. When our boxes land, they're chauffeur-driven and all of that. We had a hotel partnership. Yes, I agree. I'm explaining.
No. I'm hearing you. I'm hearing you completely. Like I said, my apologies for seemingly like I want to rush you, and that's why I gave you all the time to labor and give us the story as you remember it or as it was. So there is a contract, obviously, between yourself and the Eastern Cape government of what they were supposed to have given you, and the 30 million in writing that is between yourself and the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture in the Eastern Cape, correct?
No, it's not the Department of Sports and Arts and Culture in the Eastern Cape. So when I pitched the project, present in the room that day was the Department of Economic Development.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. And the Department of Sport in the Eastern Cape, as well as the agency of the Department of Economic Development, that is the Gambling Board. Okay? It was envisaged that the money would come from Economic Development and the Department of Sport. Admittedly, the Department of Sport was a little bit dragging behind in terms of commitments, etc., for their own reasons. But at the time that it's decided we're launching, we know we have a commitment from economic development.
But what I'm trying to get to when I want to say is, what is this commitment? When you say commitment, it is in a form of an email? Is it in a form of, what is this commitment? Or is it a bunch of guys and people sitting around the table saying, okay, it's fine, we will give you this. What is that commitment given to you? First
and foremost, it's a recorded meeting that takes place. Every meeting has minutes to it. And it was agreed that we'll go ahead on the basis of the value we're providing. Right. And then, over and above that, because that's July 2012, around August of 2012, before we've even spoken to Boxing South Africa, we then got told by the department, now go ahead, conclude your SLAs with the agency. But the go-ahead comes from the department. Now let's conclude an SLA with the agency which is going to be executing. Because, again, if I repeat, we did an advertiser-funded project. Therefore, we must provide value and run campaigns for the department.
Perhaps I must be more straightforward here, Tixie. I'm saying perhaps I should be more direct in my question. Yeah. Is there anybody, it doesn't matter who, of this 30 million, be it the Gambling Board, be it the Department of Sport Economic Development, did anybody offer you to say, here is your contract for 30 million?
We have SLAs and agreements with the department, not the department,
the Gambling Board.
The Gambling Board, because the Gambling Board is the executing agency.
So then they did give you contracts. They did give you in form of SLAs, etc.
So you see, that's why the story takes long to tell.
But I mean, if we could just get that small detail, which is what I'm looking for. Is there an agreement of any sort between yourself and your funding partners that says that we are going to give you 30 million in tranches of 10 million times 3?
Okay, so when you do an agreement, it takes multiple phases, doesn't it?
I just want to know, is there an agreement, Dixie? That's all I'm asking.
Agreements. I mean, the monies were dispersed on the basis of agreements, Andy.
So there is an agreement for 30 million?
I've got agreements that pointed to 4.5 million out of 10 million. Because the money was going to come in 3 tranches of 10 million.
That's what I'm asking. Right? So the 3 tranches of 10 million, there is an agreement that says, Dixie, we are going to be giving you 3 tranches of 10 million. Here's the agreement, sign on this. That was
agreed with the department, and then the relationship is handed over to the agency. That's the part you're not getting.
No.
Job,
okay, let me ask you this then. The Gambling Board, which is the agency, did they give you consent? Did they give you some sort of contract, SLA, whatever it is? Did they give it to you to say, here is our agreement to say, on part of the development agency or of economic development rather and Department of Sport, we are going to give you 30 million, not from the departments but from the agency. Do you have that?
The agency acts on because the way you wanted me to answer the question is not going to give proper perspective. The agency
acts on behalf of the Department of Sports and the Economic Development. Yes, so therefore you deal with them.
So the department says to us, go ahead with the project. Then, because they've raised the money from Treasury, right?
Dixie,
and then
is there anybody that said to you, there's 30 million, sign for it, here it is, 30 million for you, it's going to come in 3 trenches of 10. Is there such an agreement? It doesn't matter where it comes from. At this point, it doesn't matter. Do you have such an agreement?
The agreement is for 4.5 million out of 10 because they said we can't disperse 4.5 million because of the timing. We were going to launch the project in the following financial year. Therefore, we are going to do 4.5 now and a top-up addendum for the first tranche. It is that addendum and the top-up that never happened. Okay, so that's why I'm saying to you, it takes a bit of explaining.
It really doesn't, Dixie. It really doesn't. It just needs a very straightforward answer to say, did anybody in writing say to you at any point, here's 30 million, we're going to give it to you in this way? It's a very simple yes or no answer. It doesn't need a long explanation. Is there anybody that said to you, it doesn't matter who, because you're playing words with the departments and the gambling agency. It doesn't matter who. Did anybody promise you in writing 30 million rands to put this tournament together?
The 30 million rand was promised.
In writing?
By the Department of Economic Development, Eastern Cape.
In writing?
I'm saying to you that by the time we get to contract, the story is changing.
So by the time you start your show, by the time this starts, you don't have anybody that said to you, I will give you 30 million to put this competition on, on paper.
We do.
On paper.
We do, because
contract.
We do.
Who? Who sent you a contract that said you have 30 million?
But listen, when you bid for something, because these things happen in a procurement process, you get the appointment that will graduate into a contract, right?
Dixie, we understand contracts. I understand contracts. I understand how business with government works. I'm asking you a simple question that I want an answer to. And the simple question is there anybody, be it any department or the gambling agency, or gambling board, is there anybody on paper, contractually, that said to you, here is a contract, Dixie, that you pitch for in whatever form. Here is a contract that is available that you can send to Andile right now as proof that somebody promised you 30 million to put your competition on. Is there such a contract that exists from whoever it is?
Okay. So now we had an approval, which was the go-ahead.
Dixie, I'm asking you a simple question. Is there a contract? Is there a contract with 30 million on it that says that you can go on and put on this boxing league? Is there a contract? That's all I'm asking. It shouldn't be that difficult.
We had an agreement.
What is an agreement?
An agreement is a documentation that says go ahead, start the project. Now contract. The next step is to contract with the agency. And I'm saying that the complication of this project starts at the point where the agency is not meeting the commitment made by the department. That's what I'm saying to you. So there were a bunch of different things that would have happened. The first tranche of 10 million did not come through because we were told, listen, let's sign on 4.5 so that we can do a top-up addendum in the following financial year when the project is actually running.
Dixie, can I tell you something? If I've got a contract with anybody that said to me they're going to give me 10 million to put in a competition or for anything for that matter, if that contract is signed and it went through the correct channels and it was done correctly, nobody is going to run away for 9 years and not give me my money because there's courts in South Africa. There's all sorts of things that can be gone to. And that's what I'm trying to get at, to say, if you've got a contract, if you've got proof that somebody promised you that money on contract and they said they would pay you that money, that is money owed to you, then why would it be that 9 years later, somebody that had promised you 30 million has not given you that money? Instead, they give you 4 million. Where did that 4 million come from? Where is that in the contract that they've signed? That's not how contracts work. I know you're trying to teach me contracts, but my limited understanding, according to you, says to me something is very wrong with your contract.
Yeah, so I think this has been very unfortunate. The fact of the matter is that we got a commitment to go ahead with the project. Fact of the matter is that at the time that these commitments must be met, they were not met.
What is this commitment, Dixie? Is it like you're sitting around a table and agreeing with people that, yeah, we'll give you this money? Because if it's not on paper, if it's not written, you went and asked boxers across the country to get into a ring, to put their livelihoods and their families on task without having a contract. That's what I'm hearing. Without having a commitment of a contract for the 30 million. That's what I'm hearing. You went out there and you asked people to compete for R1 million that you never had.
Just repeat that.
You went out there, from what I'm hearing from you, and asked people to compete for R1 million that you never had. Because there was never anybody that said to you, I will give you 30 million. And if there is, please tell us who, because it will be easy for us to get that person on hold and say, hey, you promised Dixie 30 million. Please pull that contract. Here's a contract that Dixie sent us that says 30 million on it. Why haven't you paid 30 million? We could go all the way to the echelons of government and say, guys, somebody out there is owed R1 million by government. Here's a contract that says so. But from what I'm hearing, Dixie, you don't have a contract that says 30 million. You don't have a contract that said, we promise to give you 10 million in 3 trenches so that Unomeva can win this competition and give and he can get his million. You sent him out there to get R1 million you never had.
I don't know what you mean by I promised R1 million I never had.
What was the promise for the winner of the competition?
The prize money for the project was R1 million.
So that's the promise I'm talking about.
That was arrived at on the basis of commitments made.
Dixie, you keep saying commitments, but you can't tell me what a commitment is. What is a commitment if it is not a contract? This is not a thing where, it's a bank. This is professional. Okay. A contract is the commitment. Am I not correct?
Yes, you are. So
do you have a contract that says 30 million is promised to you?
I had an approval from the department which was communicated in writing, okay?
For 30 million.
And once the department then issues a mandate to the agency is supposed to act in line with that mandate. I'm saying that because there are obviously various stages to contracting. I'm sure you know that.
So did you go back to the department and say, hey, your promise of 30 million, these guys are not delivering on it? And did you go to lawyers and say, guys, go get my money?
This is up to the end of the project. This is a 21-month process of trying to get the money back. I tried everybody you can think of under the sun because I didn't have a meeting by myself. I didn't have approvals to myself. We met with officials. Those were minuted meetings. The approval came from the department.
We've got a minute to go. We've got to get out of here. But because I don't want it to seem like I'm letting this go, I'm willing to do this again with you sometime next week. But I'm willing to do it on the basis that you send my producers and you send us a proof of that contract that says that you are due 30 million. You still there?
I'm here.
So what do you say to that?
You're saying that you're willing to do a show next week.
I'm willing to not leave this as it is now because, Nomeva and his family, as much as you talk to him every day, you talk to him, doing whatever it is you're doing. He's stuck. His life is stuck. He needs this money. So I'm willing to do this again, to get to the bottom of it, to hold whoever it is accountable. Right now, in my eyes, it's you. I'm willing to hold whoever it is accountable. If it is the department, hold on. If it is the department, we want to hold them to account and clear your name. If it is the gambling board, we want to hold them to account. So all I'm saying is I'm willing to do this again next week on the basis that you send us the contract that you say you have that say that you are due 30 million.
Yeah, so I think what I don't have an issue with is to come and have an extended conversation on this issue because it's complex, and I think you want me to provide answers in sound bites, and it doesn't work that way.
Can you send us that contract so that when you do come, we can hold all of those people accountable?
You're cutting me off now because I'm saying that I've never shied away from taking the responsibility, because the project, I owned it.
But you shouldn't take the responsibility, Dixie, if it is not your fault. If it is not your fault and you've got a contract that says you are due 30 million.
At a point when the money wasn't coming, I could have stopped the project. I didn't, because I didn't believe.
I didn't even want to get into that. I want to know, are you going to send us the 30 million contract so that we can take this further?
I'll send the documentation I have, because it won't be the first time I'm doing an interview, and I've provided evidence of everything.
Of the 13, no, I don't want all the contracts. I want the one that says that you are due 30 million.
I'll send the documentation, Andy.
Thank you very much, Dixon, for having joined us here. It's Nomeva, of course. Unfortunately, we will take this on again next week, Timmy, and carry it on. So if you could just say bye to Nomeva, who's been holding in part of the conversation. It just took forever to get to where we got, and I'm terribly sorry. But at some point, with an hour to go in the show, we need to rush through it. And next week we'll take it up again. Hey. I felt like you there today.
I know. I'm just trying to.
This is not what I do.
I'm just trying to watch approach, but it's nice. I was enjoying watching what you do. When I came into the studio, I was on my tippy toes. I was like, ooh. I know how you feel about injustice.
It's people.
Yeah, I know.
He's in a car waiting for his wife outside, who has to work extra hours. His daughter is speaking in the background, so they can drive to a home that he promised his mother that was never finished. He gave his lost money away to his brother because he was due R1 million. That's not fair.
Yeah.
That's not fair.
Yeah.
That's not fair.
I
Anyway, please lighten my mood. Tell me you got something good.
I mean, it's good. Whether it's going to lighten your mood is a different story altogether, but let's get into it. First up, we're going to be looking at the growing calls to end the discrimination against persons with albinism that have really it sent the Department of Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities joining the National Albinism Task Force of South Africa. Did you know that there was actually a task force?
No.
And calls for the end of discrimination, hostility and violence against people with albinism. We're in conversation with Simba Gozo, Gaddafi, the poet, Nomfundo Nkosi as well, who's the reigning Miss Albinism.
The poet.
The Gaddafi, the poet. They're all in studio with us this evening to talk a little bit more about, especially from an experiential perspective. And then we're going to do a focus on what is happening with the city of Tshwane, because we're going to be joined by the executive mayor of the city of Tshwane, Silius Brink, following the announcement by the National Treasury to cut grants in the city due to non-performance and non-compliance. So the mayor is in conversation with us. He's joining us in the studio. After 8 o'clock this evening, it is going to be, I think it's going to be one that is enlightening, but it can get heated. So I'm going to ask that we just approach it with the respect that this conversation particularly deserves. But I think as we're heading to the elections, which have not as yet been announced by the presidency, but also as we're going into a space of the country looking at 30 years of democracy being celebrated, there is something that we are still struggling with quite consistently, and it manifests itself time and time again in just harshness and almost like negativity towards each other, and that is regarding tribalism. There's still this contention amongst us tribe. We cannot fight racism until we've also fought, or whilst we cannot parallel fight tribalism. So the belief that somebody else's tribe or ethnic group is much more superior than the other. There's still the exclusion, significant exclusion of other tribes in South Africa, even the marginalization and the laughing at it. And it starts off with like crassy laughs and teasing and which obviously then filters down. So how then do we fight for equity and we fight for racial justice if we can't under the same breath fight for the complete demolition of tribalism, where we look at one tribe more superior than the other? And it starts with us. We can't fight white people and everybody else if we keep fighting ourselves as black people.
Don't have the time to laugh around with Kate Winslet. What was her name? The Titanic lady.
Kate Winslet.
Kate Winslet, yes.
Yeah,
that's where you remind me of, because she wore this green dress.
I remind you of Kate Winslet?
Today you do. It's the dress.
Really?
It's also got a bit of J-Lo. Remember that revealing
It is. It's
J-Lo?
that little, yeah.
So it's that number, but in a Kate Winslet way.
Oh, do you like it?
I like you.
Damn it.
It's 5 up to the hour 7. Pella. That's all me.
Welcome to the Urban Rhythm Revolution.
Listen,
Metro FM.
I'm the greatest of all.